Hey everyone and welcome back. This is Cat Cube, a miniature cube-shaped desk clock with a cat theme that is created entirely off scratch and has an ESP8266 module for a brain. A desk clock like this one pulls time readings from internet and display them on the 0.96-inch SSD1306 OLED. This project was built around custom PCB that houses all the electronics, including a LiPo charging IC, an AMS1117 setup that stepped down voltage to 3.3 volt, and an ESP8266 setup. The PCB serves as the top part of the project and even has some unique aesthetic features like cat ears and paws that give the small cube its own individuality. The first step in this project was to create the schematic, which is actually rather easy to do. This device OLED display will be controlled with an ESP12F minimal setup. In order to power the entire setup, we need 3.3 volt source for the ESP8266 and an 5 volt source for the display. We use the TP4333 IC, a power management IC with a consistent output of 3.7 volt to 5 volt 1 amp from a single lithium ion cell. The ESP8266 module arrangement will be powered by a straightforward AMS1117 3.3 volt regulator setup that we use to obtain 3.3 volt from the TP4333. To evaluate how this arrangement will look, we first created a model in Fusion 360. Once the model was completed, we exported the DWG file of the front PCB and loaded it into the PCB CAD software, which provide us with the outline of the PCB with cat ears at top side and paws on the bottom side. We have to position components on the both sides of the PCB because it was small PCB. Normally, I avoid doing this because it makes assembly more difficult and time consuming and mandate the use of two soldering techniques. OLED was mounted on the front along with the AMS1117 regulator and few other necessary components, and the ESP8266 module and TP4333 configuration were mounted on the back side. After the PCB design was completed, the Gerber data was generated and then sent to PCB wafer samples. An order was placed for the PCB with white solder mask and black seal screen as they look pretty cool in general. The PCBs were received within a week and they were excellent as expected. I really love the quality of the PCBs made by PCBWay. There are other manufacturers available, but their service is always on another level. Check out PCBWay for getting great PCB service at a lower cost. We start the PCB assembly process by first adding solder paste to the component pad on the bottom side. Next, we add all the SMD components on the bottom side to their location using an ESD tweezer. In order to heat the PCB to the solder paste melting temperature, we carefully lift the board and place it on the SMT hot plate. The solder paste melts and components are attached to their pad as soon as the board reaches that temperature. Now we add solder paste to all component pad on the top side. Next, we pick and place all the SMD components on the top side of the board. We couldn't reflow this PCB using the SMT hot plate due to the components placed on the bottom side. Instead, we will melt the solder paste using a hot air soldering station, which will allow the component to get soldered to their pads. The other THT components are then connected to the board and then soldered into place using a soldering iron. And the PCB assembly process has been completed. The code and other details about this project can be downloaded from this project page. Link is in video description. The final assembly process starts by connecting the OLED to the circuit and then attach the switch to the 3D printed body and connecting its wire harness connector to the circuit's CON2 port. We then use 4 M2 screws to secure the circuits to the 3D printed base, and this project is finally completed. Here's the final result of this project. A mini working cube clock that kind of looks like a cat. With this configuration, an OLED display is linked to an ESP8266 board, allowing us to display a variety of other things in addition to the clock, such as custom animation, random quotes, and such things. Well, this is it for today, folks. Do leave a comment if you need any help regarding this project. Thanks PCBWay for supporting this project. You guys can check them out if you need great PCB service and stencil service for less cost and great quality. And I'll be back with a new project pretty soon. Peace out.